My phone buzzed just after 3 p.m. Her voice was cold, smug, like she'd rehearsed the line a dozen times. I just inherited $15 million from Aunt Denise's estate. Pack your things and leave the apartment by tonight. That was it. No explanation. No hesitation. Just a clean break from a 6-year marriage. Hi everyone, my name is Gavin Reed. I just finished running payroll at the construction firm I manage. My hands were still dusty with drywall residue when I heard her say it, like I was nothing but a couch to be donated. I didn't fight. Didn't ask questions. When I got home, the lock had already been changed. She stood inside the foyer, smiling in a silk robe, and slid the divorce papers through the mail slot like a restaurant check. I signed them right there on the front steps. Come. Precise. Then I smiled and said, "Enjoy your luck." She smirked. Thought I was broken. But as I turned to leave, I checked my watch. There were exactly 24 hours left on something she'd completely forgotten. And what she didn't know would change everything. The moment I got into my truck, I dialed one number. "Activate it," I said. The man on the other end didn't ask questions. Just replied, "Copy that." You see, a year ago when Aunt Denise first fell ill, my wife pressured me to help her stay close to family. She'd been obsessed with inheritance rumors, property portfolios, cash assets, the whole estate. So I helped her. Got her into meetings, paid for the legal advice, even connected her with my own lawyer. She never asked how I had access to those people. She just assumed I was lucky to know them. What she didn't realize was that every time she signed something on behalf of Denise, every time she moved money between trusts, every time she whispered in Denise's ear at night, it was all recorded. Legally. Digitally. And now, that entire portfolio transfer had a 24-hour revocation clause. Triggered only if I filed a breach of good faith within a specific time window. She thought I was just the quiet, dependable husband. But I've been the shadow behind every move she ever made. And in less than a day, she'd learn what that really meant. She was celebrating at a rooftop bar downtown when the first alert hit her phone. A flagged transaction on the Denise Trust. Then another. Then a freeze. I watched from a block away, sipping black coffee in the rain as she paced in stilettos, screaming into her phone. The same phone I once gifted her when she got promoted. She thought she was untouchable now. What she didn't know. Aunt Denise had made me a silent co-executor of the estate months before she died. Denise didn't trust her. She trusted me, the one who brought her soup when no one else came. And when Denise passed, she left behind more than assets. She left instructions. Recordings. Even a handwritten note that said, "If she betrays you, don't flinch. Just follow the plan." So I did. The revocation clause wasn't just real, it was ironclad. And with every minute ticking down, the so-called inheritance was inching further out of her reach. She thought she'd kicked me out of my life. But she forgot something important. I helped build hers. And what's built can also be carefully, legally undone. She didn't go home that night. She stayed at a hotel, trying to call every financial contact she had, desperate to understand how the inheritance slipped from her hands. But by then it was already too late. The revocation clause had been triggered and executed. The $15 million in assets? Locked. Temporarily transferred to a third-party holding account tied to my name, through a blind trust Denise had opened years ago. All legal. All clean. And her name? Removed from access until a full review was completed. The next morning, she stormed into our apartment with 2 lawyers behind her, thinking she could pressure me. She found the apartment empty. My clothes gone. My name off the lease. Just a single envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside was a photo of Denise and me on her last birthday, her hand on my shoulder, smiling. On the back, my handwriting. "You wanted freedom. Now you have it, with nothing attached." She thought she'd kick me out. But I had never truly lived in her world. I was just borrowing space, until she taught me what freedom actually cost. By noon, her calls turned frantic. I didn't answer. Instead, I was sitting in a quiet office surrounded by glass, finalizing the next phase with my attorney. The Denise Trust hadn't just frozen her access. It had opened the door for full audit control. And I now had full authority to authorize or deny any withdrawal, including the luxury condo she just placed a down payment on. The bank reversed it within the hour. She tried to confront me outside the law office. Her voice trembled, not with regret but rage. "You can't do this. You're nothing. I left you." I looked at her calmly. "No," I said. "You left the version of me you created in your head." And she had. She'd married a man she thought she could mold, manipulate, and discard. But the real me? I had no interest in fighting. Only finishing. She backed away like she'd seen a ghost. And for the first time, maybe she had. Because the man standing in front of her wasn't angry. He was free. And people forget, freedom, when earned, comes with a kind of silence that can shake the ground. That evening, I visited Denise's old lake house. The one my wife had once mocked as too rustic. The one she said she'd bulldoze for a modern retreat. I lit a fire in the stone hearth and sat with a box Denise left me. Inside were originals of every financial document my wife had ever touched, and a notarized letter addressed to the probate court. Denise had planned for betrayal. She saw it coming before I ever did. The letter made one thing clear. If her niece acted in self-interest or attempted to remove me from the picture, her inheritance would revert to the alternate beneficiary, a nonprofit Denise and I had created together to fund scholarships for low-income families. And the best part? The nonprofit's sole director was me. My wife's lawyers tried one last move the next morning, claiming emotional manipulation, challenging the mental state of a dead woman. It didn't hold. Denise's estate was airtight. By sunset, the judge signed off. She lost everything, not to me but to the one thing she never understood. Loyalty. The kind of loyalty that writes its name in ink, not money. The media caught wind of the court decision. Widow of fortune loses inheritance to late philanthropist's silent partner. My name wasn't in the headline, just like I wanted. But hers was. She tried to spin it. Said I manipulated Denise in her final days. That I was a nobody who swooped in for the money. But the scholarship foundation went live 2 days later. And when the first 3 students received full-ride college acceptances funded by Denise's legacy, public opinion turned. Fast. She wasn't the grieving heiress anymore. She was the woman who got caught trying to erase someone else's humanity for cash. I watched her fall from her pedestal slowly, not out of cruelty but consequence. And when I saw her in line at the courthouse, filing for bankruptcy because she couldn't cover her condo, car, or PR bills, I didn't feel triumph. I felt distance. That was the real win. Because she hadn't just lost money. She'd lost access. To me. To trust. To the story she tried to rewrite in her name. And this time she couldn't sign her way out of it. Weeks passed. Quiet ones. I moved into the lake house permanently. Planted a garden where Denise used to keep her rocking chair. Framed the last photo we took together. Her fingers curled around a mug of tea, eyes clear and certain. The nonprofit grew faster than I expected. Letters started pouring in. Parents. Students. Stories of futures once impossible, now unfolding, all in her name. And in mine quietly behind the scenes. One evening, I got a letter forwarded from the old apartment. No return address. Just my name. Inside, a handwritten note on wrinkled paper. I made a mistake. I see that now. You were never small. I just never learned how to love someone I couldn't control. No signature. But I recognized her handwriting. I folded it once. Slid it into the fire. Not in anger, in peace. Because she wasn't my ending. She was just a chapter. And I had more to write. Not with revenge. But with clarity. With stillness. With purpose. Some endings are loud. Some, like mine, are earned in silence, and remembered for everything they didn't become.